it's Aubrey.
And Alan.
We are the brother and sister team that started Better Together Farm over a decade.
A decade ago.
Yeah, it's
over a decade.
It's hard to imagine. And we still are running the farm.
We're still here.
But we are jumping on today to give you an update because we have some not so good news. The farm is in trouble.
Right here. No, it's like...
Yeah, right here and right now. We're dealing with these things called parasitic nematodes. They are a microscopic parasite that live in the soil, and they burrow into the roots of plants. Then they suck the life out of them and kill them. They've gotten to a scale now where they're threatening the existence of the farm. Now, if you haven't been out to the farm this year, because if you've been out to the farm, we've been talking about nematodes all year long. But yeah, if you haven't been out to the farm this year, it may come as a surprise because we've been buying veggies from the farm. And we're grateful for the veggies that we have had, but the nematode problem isn't going away, and it's a situation that's not sustainable. So we're here to give you an update and kind of fill you in on what's going on there and kind of what that means for you and for us.
So you might be asking yourself, are parasitic nematodes a unique problem to Better Together Farm? And the reality of the matter is no. Parasitic nematodes are an issue for agriculture all over the world, primarily in sandy soils, which Better Together Farm has sandy soils. We knew that we were having a significant issue with these parasitic nematodes 3 years ago, and we've been trying to take steps to control them. Things like rotating crops in that are more resistant. That didn't work. We've also tried adding crab shell meal, which supposedly can help kill parasitic nematodes, and that didn't work either. We also have been trying, or last year I should say, we tried parasitic fungus, which had some effect, but it really wasn't enough to really move the needle for us. So this last year at Better Together Farm, before I moved to that actually, just to let you know, we had about a 70% yield loss last year at Better Together Farm because of these root knot nematodes. So it's definitely a significant issue that if we don't get under control, we're not going to be able to do this for the long term. This year, we have been trying to do soil steaming. This is a technique that has actually been used to control parasitic nematodes for probably about 150 years. Ever since the steam engine was invented, it's been used in agricultural settings to control parasitic nematodes and just pests in the soil in general. The basic idea is that you heat the soil up to a target temperature that kills your pest with steam. In the United States, a lot of the technology has been developed to go this deep, because you have to go 12 inches to get these nematodes at sufficient numbers, which is pretty deep. A lot of this technique has been developed for large-scale growers, not much for small-scale growers. So this spring, we partnered with a company in Iowa that builds boilers to basically try to develop a mechanism for small-scale growers. And we understood from the literature that if we could get the soil temperature up to 125 degrees for 15 minutes, that we could kill parasitic nematodes. So we developed the technique, we implemented it this spring, we took a test before and after, and we went from 750 live nematodes in per sample down to 12, which is below problematic levels. So we were just, big sigh of relief. We got this. We have taken care of these parasitic nematodes. About mid-May, I was looking at my tomato plants and started seeing some problems on the top of the tomato plant. And so I kind of like, oh no, I hope this isn't what I think it is. So I dug down in the soil, and sure enough, we had them again. And so we were kind of going back and forth, like, what's going on? Are they coming up from lower? Did we not steam till deep enough? Did we not go hot enough? And about a month and a half later, we had a friend out on our farm, which is a professor in this type of things, actually from Kenya, not from the United States. And he told us that over in Kenya, in order to kill parasitic nematodes, i.e. the whole thing, not just the adults, but the eggs, they had to get to 150 degrees. And so we were like, wow, we've never heard that. We'd never read it in any of the literature that we've found. Actually, some literature said that at 125 for 15 minutes, you could kill the eggs and the adults. But he's like, no, you have to get hotter. I wanted to kind of corroborate that information, and so I called a company in Europe that builds steamers and does this type of thing, and they said, yes, actually, there is no literature on what kills nematode eggs because there's no testing protocol for nematode eggs. And they said actually some nematode varieties have to get up to 160 degrees to kill them. And so he's like, send me your samples, send me your results with all the names and stuff. So I sent him all that, and sure enough, one of our nematode varieties is actually a nematode variety that requires 160 degrees. So right now on the farm, we are testing 3 beds. We steamed one at 170 degrees, and we're also testing out another kind of biological approach from a company in Louisiana that will supposedly control them as well. And so we're trying these kind of 2 methods right now, hopefully to be able to get control of the nematodes. And that's kind of where things stand at the moment as far as the testing. And Aubrey's going to tell you a little bit about kind of, because of the yield reductions and because of all these problems that we've been having to deal with, kind of where that positions the farm right now.
While we're waiting to see whether this nematode treatment protocol that we're trying has any kind of meaningful effect, we are under the belief right now that the best solution for getting rid of the nematodes is the soil steaming solution. But in order to do that in any kind of reasonable fashion, we're going to need a larger boiler, and those are pretty expensive. So we'll keep you updated on how that goes and what kind of options there are, but that's kind of where we're putting a lot of our energy and attention and trying to figure out right now. While we've been fighting the nematodes, Alan's family has been growing. He and his wife Skylar had a baby boy back in January, Travis. He's ridiculously cute. But the camper that they've been living in for the last 3 years has kind of turned into Travis's camper, and it's getting really hard for them to be able to sustain that kind of living condition. So we moved a house onto the property a while ago, and Alan's been working on remodeling it, but it's a little much to try to remodel a house and farm and fight nematodes all at the same time. And so since the farm hasn't been profitable this year, Alan's actually going to be moving off the farm to find work off the farm so that he can be able to afford to get his family into the house sooner. Ideally, he'd like to find a job locally so that he can keep working on the house, so that they can get into the house sooner, so that he can get back to the farm sooner. But until he can find a local option, they're actually going to be relocating to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, where he has some welding jobs lined up, and that's happening this week. So that's kind of breaking news. We have a few crops planted as experiments so that we have something in the soil to be testing this nematode treatment protocol with, stuff like broccolini and carrots that we're hoping to have available over the next few months as we go into the winter. But it would be unfair to set the expectation that we are going to have a traditional winter season, because we just are in this situation with the nematodes right now. That being said, and this does sound like a bit of a dichotomy, over the next few weeks, the immediate few weeks here, we are planning on having a variety of products available. Not in the quantities that we may wish we could have, but stuff like cucumbers and peppers, green beans, kale, lettuce, arugula, squash, up until the first freeze hits, which could be in a couple weeks, it could be longer than that. We should at least have some of that available in hopefully decent quantities, so you can at least be enjoying that through this fall. So we don't know how long it's going to take to find a solution to the nematodes. We don't know how long Alan's going to have to be off the farm, and we're not sure what the future of Better Together looks like. However, we do know that we couldn't have come this far without the wonderful support from you, our Better Together community. Some of you are new to the farm this season. Others of you have been with us the entire journey. Many of you are more than customers, you're actually friends of us and friends of the farm. And it's your joy and delight in the food that comes from this farm that's what motivates us to keep going. You are what is motivating us to keep pushing through these overwhelming odds to try to find a solution. So thank you for your support. We will do our best to keep you updated over the next few months as we are going through these extra in certain times. We've learned that trying to predict the future doesn't really work all that well. So we're going to let the story develop, and we will update you as we figure out how things are going. Until next time.